Welcome to Tech Topics brought to you by Cybervenger. We help keep small businesses stay protected and compliant with cutting-edge cybersecurity and IT solutions.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Andy. I'm the Managing Consultant for Cybervenger. Today we're doing another deep dive into the 110 controls of the NIST 800-171 standard. This standard helps protect controlled unclassified information for anyone doing business with the Department of Defense or federal departments. You can see all kinds of videos about the details of that on our channel. Today's control, if we look down here, is 3.10.2. And this one is very similar to 3.10.1. It's kind of a duplicate. And I've said before in other videos that when you see seemingly duplicated controls, the framers of the NIST 800-171 are trying to highlight some key point that people miss. So they're kind of reiterating. And you want to look for the difference between the two. That difference, that uniqueness, is something that should be highlighted and stand out to you. That's kind of how they do it. Not my favorite way here, but it's the way it's built. So this says protect and monitor the physical facility and support infrastructure for organizational systems. Support infrastructure wasn't really talked about in the last control. So some of the suggestions I saw, in fact, if you look further down here in that second one, it talks about disconnecting or locking spare jacks. So if you have ports on a wall, network jacks on a wall, you don't want to have those to be activated unless you need something to be plugged in there. You can have a bunch of dead jacks out there. If someone walks up, plugs the device in, it doesn't do anything good. You can do it administratively. You can configure the switch to not accept anything that isn't a MAC address. You can just shut it down. So you can leave it patched physically. And we can turn ports on and off remotely managing a system. But it's still not something that could be abused by someone who walks up to a jack that's unmanaged or unprotected. Now, what a hostile person would be doing in an area where a jack like that exists, that's a whole other control that failed. But you want the defense in depth. Just because another control could prevent that doesn't mean you shouldn't also have a control here specifically to protect that. So they're talking about logical stuff a little bit here, like the IT side of securing that piece of it. They still, of course, are talking about being able to monitor things. So that says camera system and alarm. Those are two big ones that matter for protecting areas that have CUI in them. You want to make sure that your keycard system also doesn't just give you access, but that you can log it. They talk a little more about, I think, logging in a different control later on. I think they do the 3.10.4. But just logging is going to be a piece of that, we'll say for sure. They talk about other things that could have information leak out. If you want to make sure that any data that's traveling is encrypted. We've gone at length discussing encryption for wireless as well. The one thing I came up with that I saw once in the real world that probably fits this control, this same kind of scenario. I was working for a collections agency, and they had those nice wireless headsets. And one of the complaints I got one day was, "Hey, I'm picking up somebody in the building in a suite next to us on my headset. Can you fix it to make it hard to have this I can't have a conversation with our and collect debt because the people on the phone, we're hearing someone else chatting." And I'm like, I'm panicking. They're like, "Well, it's not that bad." I'm like, yes, it is, because if you hear them, they hear you. So I was sweating. I'm like, oh my God, what information is out there? So we had to get rid of the headsets. I made them go wired right away to make sure that it was stop any information leaking that way. So yeah, like headsets is a way that information could leak out. That needs to be encrypted properly in a way that meets NIST compliance standards. So even though it's just like Bluetooth or some proprietary wireless and it's not the IT, it's your phone conversation that someone a floor above you. I mean, if you think about an office building, get a totally different company, one floor above you, that's only about 10 feet away. It's absolutely well within range of Bluetooth and other short-range wireless protocols. People don't normally think about securing wireless like Bluetooth wireless. It's because it's short range is supposed to be the security. You have to think about that a little bit. This control kind of brings that up. And it goes on to talk about other, examples of support infrastructure include system, distribution, transmission, and power lines. I'm not quite sure where that comes in. They want to use other sensor devices to monitor things. So, I mean, you could have... I guess this would go for protecting a facility. This kind of goes to availability is one of the standard things in security, right? You want confidentiality, integrity, and availability is the three things you're protecting when you do security. And so why not availability? If you have a sensor in your server room that could warn you if your cooling system fails, or if it picks up moisture in the air, maybe you've got a water leak, Or if the volume is too loud, it can alert you and say, hey, this is what it sounds like in there. And you can, maybe is an alarm going off? Is a fan spinning incessantly on the servers? Something like that. Other sensors like that can exist that can warn you of problems ahead of time. That kind of sort of falls under the control as well. And you don't always have to think, okay, I'm trying to solve this control, blah, blah, one by one. You should be designing your network with good, comprehensive, holistic security in mind, right? You want to protect your organization. That's your real goal. You want to make sure you want to use these controls as a tool to help you secure the network, not as just a compliance thing to check off. It's tricky because you have to comply or there's consequences, and that always bothers me. It's a double-edged sword of security standards. Compliance is good because it teaches you what to do and forces you to do it, but it sometimes gives people the mindset that, okay, once I've achieved this, I'm done. And that's not really true. You always want to try and grow and continue your security. Always look for new things, and you want to go above and beyond what these standards say. There is no problem with being more secure than the NIST 800-171 requires you be. If you lock things down better and more secure and your organization can work with that, great. Nobody's going to complain. It's a minimum. It's a floor, not a ceiling. So anything that you could think of that would leak information at a facilities level, even something stupid as soundproofing. Think about if you have that same thing with, Bluetooth could go 10 feet. So can your voice. I got a loud booming voice. My wife complains all the time. I'm on the cell phone. She can hear me, 3 rooms away at the other end of the house. And if you have a room where people are talking on the phone all the time, you got a call center, and you got a paper-thin wall between you and your sweet neighbor, that may be something you have to address. That's a facility issue that you have to look at for protecting CY. And that's plenty I talked about here, and I will talk to you all in the next control.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has provided valuable information to you. Be sure to share this video with other small business owners to spread the word about the importance of cybersecurity. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want more information about cybersecurity, visit us at www.cybervenger.com.